hardly the era the furnishings had come out of. Handmade wood tables and chairs, run down but clean, sat at the edges of the room, leaving a small dancing area beside the jukebox. Overhead, an old fan turned slowly, stirring the thick summer air. Most things here were powered by good old water, or mundane steam, and the fan was no exception. The jukebox, however, was of a whole other class. Its power source was enchanted steam, or magitech, an energy the gods had gifted humanity 2 centuries ago. Well, at least if you happened to be lucky enough to live in one of the world's high-tech cities. For everyone else, the enchanted energy was difficult, if not impossible to get. And it was always egregiously expensive. "You look nice tonight, Lita." I turned around to face my next admirer. That was the 6th guy so far tonight. Maybe the crop top and hot pants hadn't been the best wardrobe idea after all. But I had to attract my Mark's attention somehow. If only he'd gotten here an hour ago, like Callie's intelligence had said he would, then I'd be long gone by now. Admirer number 6 turned out to be Jack, the shy, nerdy kid who'd had a crush on me since 3rd grade, and yet had never spoken more than 3 words to me. Until tonight. Tonight the words were gushing out. "So, do you wanna, what I mean is, only if you'd like to." His hand held to the jar of moonshine for dear life. So that's where his sudden burst of courage had come from. He'd swiped Dale's glass from the counter. Finders keepers was the motto out here, and most people just accepted it. Besides, Dale was too busy making out with his new friend to notice his missing moonshine. "I was thinking it might be nice to, seeing how long we've known each other." "Spit it out, Jack," I said, checking the impatience in my voice. It wasn't his fault that my Mark was late or that 5 other men had hit on me before he'd wandered over. "Dance with me?" He blurted out. He was squeezing the jar's handle so hard that all color had drained from his hand. "Take a hike, Junior," someone said behind Jack, causing him to jump. Jack took one look at the cold gleam in the man's dark eyes, then ran off. The new arrival gave the moonshine a disgusted look, then ordered a whiskey. "Mark," the man said, extending his hand. He smelled strongly of cologne and peppermint. He was as out of place in this bar as the shiny red jukebox in the corner. The bar's other patrons wore faded cotton and denim. They had smudged faces and dirt under their fingernails. Mark looked like he'd stepped off a fashion runway. He wore a black silk shirt, half of the buttons undone to expose his muscular chest. Boots with a slight heel over form-fitting black leather pants completed his ensemble. His hair was combed back and styled with gel. Platinum blonde, it was nearly as pale as my own. Except his hair was dyed, clearly an expensive color job from a high-end city salon. "Lita," I replied, smiling demurely at my Mark. I'd have been able to peg him even without having seen the photograph on his wanted poster. He stood out like a sore thumb, and the irony of my Mark's name being Mark was hard to ignore. "Lita," he said, as though he were savoring every letter of my name. "Such a beautiful name." He looked over his glass, returning the smile. "For such a beautiful woman." Smooth. Real smooth. He spoke with an easy grace, as though he didn't have a care in the world, as though he weren't on the run from the law. "You're not from around here," I said, trailing my gaze down the length of him as though I were checking him out. He wasn't wearing any weapons that I could see. "I'm from the city. New York," he added with a conspiring wink. "Oh," I gasped. "I've always wanted to go there." I fluttered my long eyelashes at him. He took the bait. "Maybe I'll take you sometime," he said, wrapping his arm around me. I moved in closer, reaching around him to run my hands down his back. No weapons. I moved down to his legs. Nothing. Either he was very good at concealing them, or he was an idiot. I was leaning toward idiot. After all, he had given me his real name. He seemed to think he was safe out here on the border of civilization. "Would you really take me?" I asked. "Of course, honey." Liar. He was on the run from the New York authorities, charged with kidnapping and theft of Legion property. The only way he'd be going back to the city was in handcuffs. Preferably mine. "You smell so good."